We're now on the second part of the Sunshine Double as the 2023 Miami Open is officially underway. Will Iga Swiatek successfully defend her crown, or will other top players like Elena Rybakina and Aryna Sabalenka continue their dominance at the big tournaments this season? I'll break down the women's draw and give my ultimate pick of who I think will raise the trophy here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. New on-running ambassador Iga Swiatek could start her title defense against Katerina Siniakova and could then face 25th seed Martina Trevisan in round 3, Beatriz Haddad-Maia in the 4th round, Daria Kasatkina in the quarters, Jessie Pegula in the semis, and Aryna Sabalenka in the final. Swiatek's little top section looks relatively run-of-the-mill, though that match against Siniakova could be tough because the Czech is a tricky opponent. An even bigger threat lies in the 4th round where Iga could play Jelena Ostapenko, who has a 3-0 head-to-head advantage over the Pole. If I were Iga, I'd hope that Beatriz Haddad-Maia took out Jelena in that 3rd round should they play. Haddad-Maia did beat Swiatek the last time they played in Toronto, but Iga played horrific in that match, so I don't see the Brazilian being that much of a threat to her. If Ostapenko makes it through to the 4th round, I would honestly favor her to take out the top seed, not only because of their history, but Iga is a question mark coming into the tournament as she's dealing with a rib injury that she sustained in Indian Wells. For this reason, I am going to put Ostapenko through to the quarterfinals. 8th seed Daria Kasatkina's section is next, but Indian Wells champion Elena Rybakina is clearly the best player here and who I'm going to focus on right now primarily. Anna Kalinskaya is a potential 2nd round opponent for Elena and she could be dangerous. Anna, she's a great player. She's had some strong performances out there on court, but she has struggled to get over that hump of beating a top player. So I think Elena will be fine there. Then for the 2nd straight tournament, Rybakina could meet Paula Badosa in the 3rd round as she beat the Spanish woman in straight sets at Indian Wells last week. In the lower part of this section, Petra Martic and Daria Kasatkina are projected to meet in round 3. Neither of those women have a lot of confidence coming into this tournament as they both lost to Varvara Krejcikova and Indian Wells. There are also some up-and-coming players here like the 15-year-old Brenda Fruhvirtova, 21-year-old Wang Jingyu, and then of course 22-year-old Alicia Parks. However, I don't really see any of these women making it that far as they are pretty inconsistent at this top level. Regardless of who makes it through that bottom part, I'm putting Rybakina through to the quarterfinals as she's simply head and shoulders above the woman here. Top American Jessica Pegula could play Linda Fruhvirtova in the 2nd round, followed by compatriot Danielle Collins in the 3rd, Victoria Azarenka in the 4th, Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals, Iga in the semis, and Aryna in the final. Now, focusing on the 3rd seed, Danielle Collins has had a rough 2023 season so far, and she has the game and potential to beat Pegula, but I don't know if she has the form and confidence right now to do so, let alone the consistency. The bottom part of this draw is very interesting as there are some big heavy hitters like Camila Giorgi and Kaya Kanepi, and the winner of that one would meet Azarenka in the 2nd round. I'm going to give Vika the edge there and will have her advance to the 4th round. And there I have Jessica Pegula avenging her AO quarterfinals loss to make the last 8. At the top of Coco Gauff section, there's 12th seed Ludmila Samsonova. And Samsonova, as I mentioned in my last video briefly, she's a very talented player, but she really does not know how to bring her A level to these big tournaments like 1,000 or a Slam. I also think her loss to Belinda Bencic in the Abu Dhabi finals affected her because she's been 1-3 since. Ludmila is a bit of a mental midget, but I think this draw though will be good and it'll help her play into form. Alex Ayala is a talented 17-year-old Filipino player and she's been racking up a lot of attention. And then young American Hailey Baptiste is there. She has a wild card and she'll be looking for her first win on tour in about over 9 months. Chinese woman Chen Wenjing is there as well and she's another talented young player who could really be dangerous. This is her first tournament since the Dubai 1000 as she was forced to miss Indian Wells due to an injury. Anastasia Potapova is another young player and she won Linz and she came close to beating Jessica Pegula in Indian Wells. She has a tough draw as it is confirmed that she will play Marta Kostyuk, in the second round, who won the Austin 250. This section will not be easy for Coco, but I'm still going to have her progress to the quarterfinals. She really does have that boss mentality, especially when it comes to facing off against fellow young players. And except for Iga Swiatek, Chinwin and Ludmila will be threats to Gauff, but I think that she should weather the storm there and, like I said, make the last 8. Next, Maria Sakkari's section is very, very interesting, especially her little mini section. 2 slam champions, Bianca Andreescu and Emma Raducanu, will face off in the first round, and that should be a very, very good match, because both of them played very well at Indian Wells, but they also both lost to Iga. They did meet once before at last year's Italian Open, where Emma retired mid-match due to injury. I take Bianca in the battle of the injury-prone US Open champions because her Indian Wells level looks slightly higher to me, but this will definitely be one of the matches of the tournament in my eyes. It doesn't get much easier for these 2 women, as the winner would face Maria Sakkari, who made the Indian Wells semifinals. Sakkari is honestly very beatable for these players, but I'm going to stick with the Greek women to advance there to the 3rd round. Another unseeded slam champion is Sofia Kenin, and I wouldn't be surprised if she made the 4th round here. Sonia has been incrementally improving, and she's looked better and better each time I see her play, and she most recently pushed Rybakina hard at Indian Wells, I believe falling in straight sets, but both those sets were tiebreakers. I do think that she'll oust the 28 seed Kalinina to make the 3rd round, where I'll then pick Maria to advance. Looking down, we have a potential match between Belinda Bencic and Leylah Fernandez in the 2nd round. Bencic has 2 500 titles under her belt from the season, but she's been off her game the last couple of weeks. She did make the semifinals of Miami last year, so the conditions seemingly suit her game pretty well. Leylah has not done much lately, partly due to her being dealt pretty tough draws. I will give Belinda the edge there, and I pick her to make the 4th round. I don't really see Ekaterina Alexandrova posing any problems there, as she has been kind of off her game too. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to Taylor Townsend, who is in this tournament on her protected ranking. Even though she hasn't played well in the past few weeks, I'm leaning towards having Bencic take this section. I feel like there are a lot of players who could come through, and I wouldn't be surprised really if Emma or Bibi progress through, but I think Belinda's slightly easier draw will aid her here. 4th seed Ons Jabeur could open against Varvara Krejcikova before playing Shuai Zhang in round 3, Petra Kvitova in the 4th, Maria Sakkari in the quarters, Sabalenka in the semis, and Iga in the final. This next section with Jabeur is very interesting, as at the top, there's Petra Kvitova, who could face young compatriot Lena Noskova in round 2. Dona Vekic is a potential 3rd round opponent for Petra, though she could have a tough opener herself in Amanda Anisimova. Ons will likely start against Varvara Krejcikova, which could be tricky as the Russian just made the Indian Wells 4th round. However, she had to qualify for both Indian Wells and Miami, so I'm sure that she'll be a little bit fatigued heading into that match. Conversely, Ons is very light on matches this season, mainly because she underwent a minor knee procedure after Melbourne. She lost to Marketa Vondrousova in her past few events, so she'll be happy to not see her in her section. I don't know if Ons is back to her top form just yet, so I'm leaning towards having Kvitova or Vekic advance. Although Lena Noskova could definitely have a breakout moment and come through to the quarterfinals herself. Actually, I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and send Lena through to the last 8, cause why not? She's beaten Jabeur before, and if she brings her A level, she's definitely capable of taking out any of the players here. 5th seed Caroline Garcia has a tricky section. She could open against Rona Kirstea, who beat her last week at Indian Wells. Then Jill Teichmann, Karolina Muchova, and Lin Zhu are all very dangerous players who have the game to take out the French woman. Looking down, Karolina Pliskova and Veronika Kudermetova could meet in the 3rd round, but Marketa Vondrousova lurks there as well. Pliskova and Kudermetova played each other in Indian Wells last week in the 3rd round, which Carolina won in straight sets. I'm going to have the 7th seed move through there too in Miami and reach the 4th round, where I have her taking out countrywoman Muchova to make the quarters. I simply think this draw is too hard for Carolina right now, who is not playing her best tennis. A lot of people here can beat her, as I said earlier. Even though she is the highest seed, I'd quite frankly be very surprised if she made it through. Lastly, second seed Aryna Sabalenka could face Sloane Stephens in the second round, followed by Marie Boskova in the third, Barbora Krejcikova in the fourth, Garcia in the quarters, Jabeur in the semis, and Iga in the final. Aryna's draw is definitely not easy, as Shelby Rogers and even Sloane can be very tricky openers. Aryna did dominate Shelby pretty handily in Australia, so I think that she will be okay there, although you never know, Rogers could come out and play well, and Aryna could be a little bit flat. I don't really see Marie Boskova posing any significant threats there. But another Czech woman, Barbora Krejcikova, in the fourth round is definitely a tough one. This will be the third straight tournament these two played each other, as Barbora beat Aryna in the Dubai quarters before Aryna got revenge last week at Indian Wells. Madison Keys, though, could be a tough out for Krejcikova, though the American is recovering after retiring mid-match at Indian Wells due to illness. Still, I am leaning a bit towards Barbora not only taking out Keys, but Sabalenka as well to make the quarterfinals. Their Indian Wells match was pretty tight and it could have gone either way. I think that should they play here, Barbora would be more well rested and the fresher of the two, because Sabalenka did make a deep run in the desert. In the semifinals, I have Elena Rybakina face Jessie Pegula, and then Belinda Bencic versus Barbora Krejcikova. I'll pick Elena and Barbora to face off in the final, with Rybakina taking the title and completing the Sunshine Double. The main snub here from this is obviously number one seed Iga Swiatek, and one of the main reasons why, as I mentioned earlier, that I did not have her going as far was due to the rib injury and how she looked impacted on her serve. Her movement not as much, but her serve looked very, very weak, even weaker than normal, no shade. That injury obviously might smooth itself over by the time this tournament starts, and then also Ostapenko is very unpredictable and might lose early, and also can't forget about that Iga is the number one player in the world. I feel like she can figure out Ostapenko and beat her, but for now, I will go ahead and send Latvian through to make the quarterfinals. I am confident in my Rybakina pick for the most part, but my only concerns would really be possible fatigue from all the tennis that she's played recently, and then plus Elena is probably more vulnerable in the earlier rounds, and I'm worried that Badosa might get her lick back in that third round. I was close to having Pegula go all the way. Her draw is good and she's pretty much a given to do well at a big tournament, but I am not sure how she'd fare against a top girl like Rybakina right now. Coco, another strong American player, but I don't think that she's ready game-wise just yet to be a top girl. However, she could definitely take advantage of an open draw and potentially go all the way, though she has yet to win a 1000 title or even make 1000 final. Like I said earlier, anyone from Andreescu, Raducanu, and Sakkari can replace Bencic, but I'll go ahead and go with the Swiss woman for now. The court conditions here in Miami are actually kind of similar to Indian Wells from what I've heard from the players. Miami is a bit faster than Indian Wells, but the balls can travel through the court pretty slow on a humid day, and the balls can be very heavy. The wind can also be a bit of a factor, especially for the smaller outside courts. Miami is a tournament that doesn't have a lot of surprise champions looking at previous history. The top players generally do well at this event. I think the bigger servers will enjoy this tournament more than Indian Wells, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if we had yet another Elena-Aryna final. Sabalenka was also another player that was kind of snubbed in this preview, but like I said earlier, it was more of a toss-up between her and Barbora. Normally, I'd bet against a player completing the Sunshine Double because it's just such a hard thing to do, having to play all that tennis within the span of 3-4 weeks. Only 4 women in history have pulled off that feat, but Iga Swiatek did just accomplish it last year, so if she could do it, why not Elena? That's all I have for y'all today, and let me know whether you agree with me in having Rybakina take the title. Feel free to drop your own picks in the comment section below. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post the men's preview. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.